Hey guys, welcome to another Game Explained discussion. I'm your host, Andrew Seegers, and this time we're joined by Derek Bittner and Ash Paulson to discuss the news of Smash Bros. Getting even more DLC characters. So let's get started. Alright guys, so we already had our Direct discussion, a little while ago when the Direct happened, and as part of that we already touched on the fact that Smash Bros. Is getting some new characters. Of course, there's Mewtwo and Lucas, but now we know that they opened up the floodgates to pretty much anyone, allowing people to vote for their favorite character on the official website, or whoever they want to see the most in the game. So I thought it would be fun for us to talk about this news a little bit more in depth in general, as well as give our top 5 personal characters that we want to see the most in Smash Bros. As DLC. So first up, what do you guys just think in general about this idea of opening up the floodgates and letting potentially any character into the mix?
I'm kind of amazed they took it this far. Like, this, there's always that idea that, fans want this, fans want that. To have them actually open it up and allow people to vote for who they want in is really forthcoming, and just like, okay, yeah, we're willing to make a character out of whoever you guys most vote for, which is how Sonic got into Brawl, and how Mega Man got into Wii U. So it's just a lot more, I guess, formal now. And it's really great to see that kind of interaction, because this is exactly what fans were kind of hoping for, is like, let their voices be heard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's great that they're kind of embracing the fans with this, and at least, if either giving them a choice or at least the illusion of a choice, because we don't really know if they're going to make the results public, and if they don't, who's to say how much of a bearing these results are actually going to have on who gets in,
What if that form actually just goes nowhere?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that Sakurai to some degree is really, really regretting this right now, based on some of the crazy troll-like results that are coming in, and especially how it seems like every third-party company under the sun is trying to kind of get out the vote and have their followers retweet and hashtag for their character to get in. I'm sure right now things are a little annoying over there at Nintendo.
Yeah, that's probably a safe bet.
Yeah.
I hope they don't have like a little bell notification every time a submission comes in. That would get really annoying.
Seriously. I mean,
insane.
It would be interesting. I mean, I would love to be the person, in charge of seeing those results come in and kind of tallying them up and really seeing who the most popular characters are, and also seeing, what the trolliest results are, too, because there are a bunch of Goku votes, and and probably care like real life actors and actresses, and all sorts of just stupid choices for characters coming in as well.
Right, and it is interesting that Nintendo did officially say third-party characters are possible.
Yeah,
that you go ahead and vote for them. It could happen. Which I think which is what partially led to the floodgates of all the developers coming out to being like, hey, vote for my character. And I've seen some, unofficial polls, I guess, that's the only kind of poll we're going to get out of this, showing that apparently Shovel Knight is doing pretty well from what I can tell, or according to these polls. Apparently he's like one of the top voted for characters, and so I'm sure that makes it pretty happy.
Oh, it makes me super happy, but it's kind of hard to know how trustworthy those results are, because as far as I understand it, Shovel Knight hasn't even been released in Japan at all, so I don't think there's going to be really anyone in Japan voting for him. And I've also heard that K. Rool is doing pretty well, but yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I feel like those results have to be based on really anecdotal evidence and just a sliver of the overall number of votes that are actually coming in. I
agree. Like, who knows? Well, I agree in the sense that who knows how accurate the polls are. I wouldn't be surprised by those results simply for the fact that with Nintendo characters, like, they are dividing a common fan base. Whereas a Shovel Knight is a really recent game, and I feel like that tends to bring, anyone who's not going to vote for a Nintendo character will vote for Shovel Knight instead, for instance.
Sure.
So I think that's why, he may be leading the pack, even if he wouldn't win against any individual character like one-on-one.
Right. I gotcha.
Then one of the more surprising companies to come out in favor of a character recently was Phil Spencer from Microsoft, who essentially said Banjo-Kazooie is completely possible to come to Smash Brothers. Which I had a ton of people tweeting about this. People want us to discuss this specifically, and this is probably gonna give away one of my top 5 characters, actually.
Yeah.
Because I would personally love for this to happen. With that said, I'm also giving absolutely no thought to Phil Spencer's thoughts on this. I really don't think there's any more chance of that happening than. I don't think him saying this because there's any more chance of it happening than it already did.
This just feels like marketing to me. It's like, hey, we owned this character, we wouldn't mind it being out there. Now all of a sudden people are talking about this character, and what do you know? They just put out this Connect demo about Banjo-Kazooie not too long ago. So it's definitely a tactic to drum up interest, which I think is a very common thing amongst third parties right now with this whole Smash Ballot thing. But Microsoft specifically, that is a great character choice. That is somebody that people would love to see. If Rare never left, there's no doubt in my mind that Banjo-Kazooie would have been in Smash Brothers at some point. So that it's hard not to want to keep that dream alive. But the cynic in me just like, okay, Spencer, you just want to get, you just want to be noticed. It's like, notice me, and yeah. I mean, it'd be cool, but I just don't. I'm not putting much stock in it.
Right.
Same here. I mean, as perfect and as appropriate as I think Banjo-Kazooie would be for Smash, despite anything Phil Spencer says, I don't see it happening. It's not exactly the most attractive prospect for Nintendo because, I mean, it's probably a given at this point that Rare's going to announce a new Banjo game, or at least a new Banjo project at E3 this year. I would bet on that. So it's not really the most attractive prospect for Nintendo, right? Because they're essentially giving Microsoft their, whether you want to call it their direct competition or not, it's their direct competition. It's basically giving them free advertising. And there's really no reason for them to do that.
That's totally the case.
Yeah.
And I agree with all of that. But with that said, you could say the same thing about Snake 2 for Brawl, basically. That was a Sony advertisement, essentially.
Well, but back at the time, though, the Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes was being released on the GameCube.
Yeah, that's true, but they had Metal Gear Solid 4 exclusive elements in the game, even.
That's true as well. Yeah, I mean, yeah. As far as I understand it, Snake got into Brawl because it was like a personal favor to Kojima from Sakurai or something. So, I mean, I feel like it made a little more sense in its own way.
True, but Nintendo used to own Rare.
Yeah, that's also true. I mean, hey, it would be great if this somehow led to Microsoft selling specifically the rights to Banjo-Kazooie to Nintendo. That's not going to happen, but. Right. That would be the best possible thing to come out of all this.
I mean, the other idea is like, yeah, you're advertising for this other company's product, but fans of that product from that other company could come to your game as well, which I think was the attractive property of having Snake and Brawl.
And true, and we've had Banjo-Kazooie in that Sonic racing game as well.
Wait,
yes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's Sonic and All Stars Racing.
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah.
I mean, there is possibilities like that, and it could definitely work out. But this is gonna be like a sacrilege to you guys, but
sacrilege.
That oh god, you've been on a roll lately.
I'm not sure if I would call that a roll. That was reaching.
No, I mean terrible.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that Snake is a bigger character than Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think that's sacrilege. It's true.
Yeah, Banjo-Kazooie just has not had a big game in a very long time, and not a well-loved game, and an even longer time.
You're cutting me deep, Derek.
Yep, that's what you get for your damn puns. So, there is the whole idea that you could bring in fans of Microsoft into buying a Wii U and Smash, so they could play as Banjo. But most Banjo fans are still Nintendo fans, so I don't know.
Yeah,
it seems odd. Banjo-Kazooie is probably the biggest example of all this, but other companies have been just as bad. I mean, the funny thing is we got Playtonic advertising Banjo-Kazooie as well, and that's because they love the character.
Right.
That's why I think that's also why we're getting advertisements from Shantae and Shovel Knight, because these people worked with Nintendo. They want to see their character out there, and it's a love of their character and wanting to see them, branch out. When it comes to stuff like Super Meat Boy and what was that other character that was mobile only?
Only the best character for Smash ever, Artix from Adventure Quest.
Yeah, it's like, really? That's about the height of cynicism. Now, people love Super Meat Boy. That is a great game, but it's never appeared on a Nintendo console.
Yeah,
so
that's silly.
Why should he get a spot on Smash Brothers?
Meat Boy would be such a weird choice too. Like, he's just like a little kind of gross-looking character, like meat juice flying everywhere.
Yeah, I would not want to see Meat Boy.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
You know what's weird though? What we ironically haven't seen is anyone tweeting in support of Rayman. After all this, after everything going down with Rayman, we haven't seen anyone tweeting in support of him.
I think people are just so dejected now after what happened. I think people like have just pushed that completely out of their mind at this point.
That might have happened, but I mean, I think Ubisoft put a little thing about it, but not quite to the push that these other companies have. I mean, I think. Was it WayForward or I think it was WayForward who tweeted out a picture of a fan did all kinds of like, this is what Shantae's moveset could be in Smash Brothers, and it's like people getting really into this.
Well, and they already actually, I think WayForward themselves posted some art of Shantae and her possible alternate colors, which I thought was kind of a cool, kind of nod on their part. I mean, she's not part of my top 5, but honestly speaking, I think Shantae would be a great addition. Yeah. She's got that kind of iconic design to her that Shovel Knight has. She has appeared mainly on Nintendo consoles. I mean, that's one of the company retweets I'm actually in support of, even though a lot of them are ridiculous.
Right. I mean, I guess that brings up a good point though, right? It's all like completely subjective. Sure. Shantae is not a big character at all.
No.
So were we not fans of that, we might look upon that as more self promotion, right? Like more along the same lines that these other developers are also. Try and get their games or their characters into Smash.
You gotta look at the history, though. I think that's where you draw the line. And
yeah, even that's subjective, though, right? Like,
I suppose.
But I mean, at least Shantae has been around for more than a year at least.
True.
Well, several years actually.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. She's been. Yeah. So I guess one consideration though is something I think we've touched on before. Is do you think having even more third-party characters? Do you think that could work against Smash Brothers? Like, I mean, is that anything that bothers you at all, or do you just want to see even more third-party characters appear in this game?
It's a hard question because I'll admit I do have one third-party character on my list, and I wouldn't mind seeing it show up. But it's sort of a weird thing because when it comes to your favorites, you kind of stop caring. You want to see that character in there. You want to be able to fight with that character. So it's a hard line to cross, but I think. Mainly it's like I think with this many characters, it's okay to have one more third party.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I would say generally I'm in favor of less third parties. I mean, over more, just because I do think that it should be mainly a Nintendo party. I think it should be a mainly Nintendo focused cast with a few third party icons. And in my view, we have those icons already. I don't feel like you can get more iconic than Sonic, Mega Man, and Pac-Man. I think those are it. But then again, I'm incredibly hypocritical because I have, third-party characters on my list that, even though they're not nearly as iconic as the 3 third-party characters who are already in the game, I'm just a fan of those characters, so I want to see them in the roster. So,
yeah.
It's totally hypocritical of me because I do think we really have the perfect range of third-party characters already. But, when you're a fan of a character, logic kind of goes out the window and you're just like, I just want this character in no matter what. So yeah, I mean, I think objectively less is better, less is more in this case, but hey, if you want a character, you want a character.
For me, I think had you asked me a few years ago, and maybe even longer than that, when I was younger essentially, I would have been like, no, I don't want any third party characters, I want like all just Nintendo stuff. But these days, like, I care a lot less about staying true to things like that, and I'm like, hey, the more the merrier now, I feel like.
Really?
If they just want to throw in as many as they want, assuming that they are of a caliber that would fit in with the game, I'm cool with that. And especially considering they have, already close to 50 Nintendo characters themselves. They don't have to add a lot of third-party characters to really upset that balance.
That's true, but that's the rub, though. The part where you said, they're of a certain caliber to be in Smash. That caliber differs from person to person. And I agree with you.
We've discussed this before, too, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that they should be of a certain caliber, but there are a lot of people out there, a lot of our listeners who, wanted to, just string me up for saying that Rayman isn't part of that caliber. And I still don't think he is, but there are plenty of other people who would say Rayman's totally Smash Brothers caliber. So it's really hard when you kind of get into the conversation of caliber and deservedness and, relevance, because everyone has a different opinion on that.
Yeah, I think, didn't we end up giving him, like, Klonoa their own, like, tier, basically?
Yeah.
They're in that weird, like, middle ground between, like, should they be in the game, or...
Yeah, they are in kind of their own weird middle... Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yep. Alright, well, do you guys have anything else to say about the DLC in general before we move on to our personal favorites, or...
I think this the last thing I would say is that I just hope it isn't limited to characters and costumes. I want to see stages.
That's a good one. I definitely want to see more DLC in general.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I wasn't surprised that they are adding more characters. Like, that's great. And I actually wouldn't be surprised if we see more characters from Brawl coming back, like Wolf and maybe even some of the Pokemon. I'm a little bit more iffy on those. But basically, whichever characters were from Brawl, besides Snake, that haven't come back yet, I can see them coming back quite easily, because they would be the easiest things to do.
I would say Wolf is a lock at this point, almost. Like, 99%, I feel like he's coming...
He has to be, right?
I mean, I didn't even include him on my... I mean, spoilers here, but I didn't even include him on my list because I think he's that much of a guarantee to get into the game.
Yeah, well, plus I wouldn't put him on my list anyway, but with that said, I think...
Yeah, I probably wouldn't either. But also, there's the whole thing with Star Fox Wii U probably going to get a... Well, it's definitely going to get a full reveal at E3.
That's a great time to point that out. It would make perfect sense to announce Wolf at the same time as Star Fox Wii U, right?
Yeah, and I mean, and the timeline lines up perfectly. I mean, you've got Lucas releasing in June, which is 2 months after Mewtwo comes out. So, you know, you got E3, Star Fox reveal, reveal Wolf right after that, and announcement for an August release, and the timeline matches up perfectly. And then you got the poll ending in October. I mean, it does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it really does. So yeah, I hope we see that, as well as I'm with you, Ash. More stages would be great.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
let's get Magicant on Wii U.
Oh god, I'd love that. I mean, even if we can't get new stages, and I totally get that new stages are a lot of work. Give me a Brawl pack, a Melee pack, and a 64 pack, and call it a day, and I'll be happy.
Oh, that'd be so good.
Yeah.
64 had such great stages.
It
pains me they barely made use of them at all since.
I will not consider Smash Wii U 100% complete until I get my Pirate Ship HD stage.
Yeah, that would be great, actually.
Or any Wind Waker stage. The fact that there's no Wind Waker stage in that game is just it's a sacrilege.
No, another quick consideration, and this could potentially be list spoilers too, I suppose. But there was a rumor that came out, a few weeks ago, which of course turned out to be false. That had several characters on it, one being Wolf, and another, I think Lucas might have been on there as well. But another was one of the Ice Climbers coming back. Either Nana or Popo. Basically, the idea would be they would become one character, and you would choose whoever you want as a costume. What do you think about that idea? Because we already know the Ice Climbers won't appear in the game, unless they figured out some solution, because of the fact that 3DS couldn't handle them. But what do you think of the idea of them coming back as a single character?
Honestly, I'd be fine with that. I know there'd be a lot of people who would cry foul, but I think, if you had four Popo colors and 4 Nana colors, give them a slightly tweaked version of the Ice Climber's old moveset, and, and power them up so that they work as a single character, I'd be fine with that. I'd rather have that than nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a nice compromise. I mean, it'd be weird not to have them doubled up on the moves because you're so used to them working together, especially, the up special and all that. But if I had a choice between them not being in at all or having just a single one of them and being able to swap between them in that way, yeah, I'll definitely take just one alone because they've been here since Melee. I want to keep them in.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think having them in any form would be good. My only concern would be it setting a precedent for future Smash Brothers games, where it's well, we've already got our moveset now for one character. We'll just keep them as one character. But I think they are really unique as a duo, and I would love to see that continue. And ultimately, my hope would be they just forget about the 3DS one. Just make Ice Climbers for the Wii U version as a double character, and we'll be good.
Yeah, we already know that. That's not going to happen, though, because of Sakurai.
Yep, it's true.
Damn it.
Hey, guys, so this is normally where we would have gone into our top 5 characters each for Smash Brothers, but this discussion was running really long. Now, we went ahead and recorded that anyway, but it's about 40 minutes long, so we're going to break that out into its own discussion coming up very soon. So please stay tuned for that. Sorry I couldn't include it all here. It was just way too long for a single video. We had some pretty interesting choices, though, so you should definitely keep an eye out for it. Alright, guys, well, thanks for watching, and of course, if you liked our video, make sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain, which you can find links to in the description below. It's a good way to keep up to date on everything we post. And of course, keep an eye on GameXplain.com for more Smash Bros. Wii U, including the second part of this discussion, and other things gaming as well. Alright, thanks, guys. Bye.